Nehemiah 8:5 says, and when he opened the book, all the people stood up. I want to talk to us this morning about the family that God honors. The family that God is proud of. The family that God honors. In the 6th chapter of the book of Ephesians, it reads thusly, children, obey your parents in the Lord, for this is right. Honor thy father and thy mother, which is the first commandment with promise, that it may be well with thee, and thou mayest live long on the earth. And ye fathers, provoke not your children to wrath, but bring them up in the nurture and admonition of the Lord. Can I get a witness here? Not with eye service as men pleasers, but as the servants of Christ, doing the will of God from the heart. The Living Bible says, children, obey your parents. This is the right thing to do, because God has placed them in authority over you. Honor your father and your mother. This is the first of God's 10 commandments that ends with a promise. And this is the promise, that if you honor your father and your mother, yours will be a long life full of blessings. And now, a word to you parents. Don't keep on scolding and nagging your children, making them angry and resentful. Rather, bring them up in the loving discipline the Lord himself approves, with suggestions and godly advice. I wish you'd turn to somebody, your neighbor, and give them a word. Tell them, my prayer is that today my family will be a family that God is proud of, that God honors. Amen. Thank you. My brothers and my sisters, there is nothing that God loves and honors more than a happy, caring family, a loving family. The truth be told, the family was the first institution that God ordained and gave the task of transmitting his laws from one generation to another. But somehow, somewhere, we have gotten off the track. And instead of our homes being characterized by family caring and family sharing, our households are threatened by family feuds and family conflicts. I need somebody to help me this morning. Instead of them being citadels of peace and harmony and love, many of them are battlefields of domestic warfare. God desires happy families. God wants bread-winning, devout fathers, God-fearing, loving mothers, and obedient children, all the way from the children of Israel at the foot of Mount Sinai. God gave us a formula by which families could start on the right track and stay on the right track. And later on, with the inspiration of Jesus Christ, the Apostle Paul not only confirmed this formula, but spelled it out in our text today. I shall not read it again, but utilizing our sacred imagination, let us say that God conducted a children's period, a young folks period. No doubt he told the adults to stand back for a minute and let me talk to the children. And the children come forward. And as they came forward, God said, in essence to them, I have a special commandment for you. I want you to hear it and hear it well. And if you obey it, I'll make you a promise. Can I get a witness here this morning? If you keep your end of the bargain, you can certainly expect me to keep mine. God keeps his promises. Now hear my commandments. Honor thy father and thy mother. Be obedient to your father and your mother. Be courteous and respectful to your father and your mother. Don't rebel against the teachings of your parents. Am I up here just talking about myself? Somebody need to help me here. Don't rebel against the techniques of your parents. Yes, honor your father and your mother. And now there are 3 specific reasons why children, no matter what age they may reach, ought to respect and honor their parents. First, children ought to honor their parents because it is the parents who are responsible for your being here. No human being can claim credit for his or her own birth. God initiated production when he created Adam and Eve. Can I get a witness? But he turned the process of reproduction over to them. And ever since Eve conceived and gave birth to Cain, that same process has been followed. So not a single one of us would be alive today were it not for the fact that our fathers and our mothers participated in the act of reproduction. We simply cannot claim credit for our being birthed. We did not request to be born. We were not shipped here from babyland, and no star flew down out of the sky and left us on the front porch. I wish somebody would help me here. No matter how self-sufficient you think you are, no matter how self-sustaining and independent you think you are, or you may become, your very life is a gift from your parents. Now, that in itself gives us great reason to honor our parents. If you want to thank anyone else besides God for your being here, you can thank your parents. Children ought to honor and obey their parents because of all the benefits which the parents have bestowed upon them. In addition to give them their very lives, parents give their children everything which it takes for them to remain alive. If we had been left to make it on our own right after we were born, there is not a single one of us that would be alive today. Newborn babies are completely helpless. The only 2 things they can accomplish without assistance are crying and messing up their diaper. Everything else they do requires help. Parents have to feed them. Some of y'all know what I'm talking about. Change them, bathe them, dress them, hold them, rock them to sleep, watch them and keep them from rolling off the bed, and 1,000 other things, all during the day as well as the night. These responsibilities do not just occur during the first weeks, the first months, or even the first year. It takes a long time for children to get to the place where they can take care of themselves. They have to be taught how to eat, how to walk, and they have to be trained how to go to the bathroom. They have to be taught how to wave bye-bye and to say mama, and how to say dad. It's a strange thing, however, that although children have to be taught to talk, they don't have to be taught to talk back. Can I get a witness? Let me say that again. Although they have to be taught to talk, they don't have to be taught to talk back. They seem to pick that up on their own. And you know, the older children become, instead of the responsibilities of parents decreasing, their responsibilities increase. The older children get, the more parents have to spend on them. $15 and $20 haircuts, $40 perms, $50 designer jeans, 100 plus Air Jordan, expensive techno gadgets for school and social life, clothes, and more clothes, evening dresses, tuxedos for homecoming and prom, class rings. Somebody know what I'm talking about. Cap and gown rental, personal automobile, more clothes, college tuition. And did I say clothes? You name it, parents have to pay for it. From the moment children are born in the world, for the next 20-odd years, parents have to foot the bill for just about everything they do. Now, if all of this does not merit some honor, respect, and obedience, then I don't know what it takes. If children would just stop long enough to consider all the benefits which they derive from their parents, they would never be rebellious, disrespectful, and disobedient. One of the most deplorable sights one can observe is to see a child who can hardly talk, trying to talk back and telling his and her parents what he or she is not going to do. God's commandment says that children ought to honor their fathers and their mothers. Another reason why children ought to obey their parents is because of the fact that parents have the experience and wisdom which only comes with age. Many children feel that they just, because they are members of the now generation, their parents don't know what's happening. Can I get a witness here? This is what the prodigal son thought, and he took a few starving days out there in the hog pen to change his mind. Far too many teenagers feel that their parents are old-timey, old-fashioned, fogey, antique, and square. They seemingly never take into account that their parents were the same age that they are at the present time. Come on, help me, Holy Ghost. We seem to forget that they were faced with some of the same temptations. Can I get a witness? That they were going through the same changes, that they had the same problems which they are now experiencing. Only very few of the temptations faced by teenagers today were not faced by those of us who are now adults. I realized that the drug syndrome was not as prevalent. Technology certainly was not as advanced. Yet many of the temptations young folks face today, adults faced way back in the day. There's nothing about staying out late. Can I get a witness? Nothing new about going to after prom party. Nothing new about pornography. That's just a fancy name for what we used to call bad books. Can I get a witness? There's nothing new about drinking liquor and getting drunk. Noah got drunk as soon as he came out of the ark. And I don't have to tell you that there's nothing new about sex. It wasn't just discovered yesterday. Adam and Eve discovered it long back in the Garden of Gethsemane, Eden. So most of the problems which young people face today were faced by their parents. I don't want to be too long up here. Were faced by their parents just a few years ago. They had the same temptation that you're having right now. And the fact that they made it through means that they have gained some precious, priceless wisdom which they can share with you right now. And even if your parents fell into some traps and got a few scars along the way, they still have the wisdom and experience to warn you not to fall in the same trap. So because of the experience and wisdom in which parents have, and because that wisdom can only come by age, children ought to respect and obey their parents. Now, nowhere does it say that at a certain age, children are at liberty to stop honoring and expecting their parents. It does not say that when they reach 18 or 21, that they can ignore what their parents have to say. Can I get a witness? It does not say that when they get the first job, make that first paycheck, and have some money of their own, that they can tell mom and daddy where to go. Certainly when children grow up to be adults, when they move out and start supporting themselves, when they marry and rear their own families, and when they become heads of the household, parents should not expect them to obey orders like preschool children. But regardless of how old people become, they should never be disrespectful and discourteous to their parents. As long as our parents remain alive, we should treat them with utmost kindness, care, respect, honor, and love. Honor thy father and thy mother. And as we stated earlier, God gave a promise to those who would keep this commandment. He said, honor thy father and thy mother, that thy days may be long upon the land upon which the Lord giveth thee. Some scholars say that this is a corporate promise, and that God's telling the Israelite nation this is a corporate promise, and that God is telling Israelite nation that if they give the proper respect to their parents, their tenure in the land of Canaan will be long and prosperous. While this interpretation has great merit, It can also be said that this promise is made to individuals as well. No one can deny that if children obey the rules of God-fearing parents, they can expect to live longer and lead more fulfilling lives than those who do not. Although we cannot extend our lives beyond God's timetable, we certainly can shorten them by going against the teachings of our parents. If children will listen to their parents and eat the proper diet, take the proper exercise, get a proper amount of rest, abstain from alcohol, drugs, and other habit-forming substances, stay out of the wrong places, and cultivate a happy, healthy lifestyle based upon the high moral and ethical standards set by Jesus Christ, they have God's promise that their days will be long upon the earth. Can I get a witness? Now, I've talked with the children and told them what God said concerning the right of their parents to expect obedience from their children. Let me just take a few minutes to say to the parents and the children also have some rights. You see, honor is a two-way street. Help me, Holy Ghost. Can I get a witness? When God commands children to honor their parents, there's also an unwritten yet built-in clause which says that parents ought to be honorable parents. Can I get a witness? I don't want to be too long up here. It's very difficult for me to walk into a courtroom, rise to my feet when the judge comes in and addresses him as Your Honor if I know that judge is a crook. Can I get a witness? I say it's tough to honor somebody when you know they're a crook. By the same token, children find it very difficult to honor fathers and mothers who don't carry themselves in such a way that they command respect from their children. Y'all ain't hearing me. This is certainly not to say that children should ever be discourteous or disrespectful to their parents, no matter what they might do. The fact that their parents are responsible for their being alive warrants respect, but the commandment to honor a parent who lives a dishonorable life becomes a very difficult task for that child. Children have the right to expect their parents to be honest, truthful, morally clean, and just plain decent. Parents owe it to their children to show them a shining example of upright Christian living. Did you realize that most cases of juvenile delinquency can be traced back to adult delinquency? Can I get a witness here? Ain't no delinquent children, they're delinquent parents. Adam and Eve were also adult delinquents. They disobeyed God. God orders, and when their children were born, their oldest son Cain killed his brother Abel. Isaac and Rebekah were guilty of parental favoritism, and as a result of their sons, Esau and Jacob were constantly at each other's throats. Jacob was a liar, a cheater, and a swinger. He was an ancient playboy in the strictest sense of the term. He was fathering and rearing 4 sets of children under one roof. Y'all ain't hearing me. That ain't right. As a result of the bad example he set, some of his sons became so envious and jealous of one of their brothers that they sold him into slavery. Y'all know what I'm talking about. David committed multiple sins, and as a result, there was a constant conflict within his household. Solomon was an insensitive, overbearing monarch, and his son Rehoboam came along, followed in his footsteps. Solomon punished his subject with whips, and his son Rehoboam punished his subject with scorpions. These biblical examples help us to substantiate the old adage, like father, like son. Well, let me make it plain. We owe it to our children to set a good example for them. Now, I know that children sometimes go astray, no matter how much good teaching and training we give them. I know that despite the good example which parents sometimes set for their children, they still rebel and do their own thing. But even if that happens, if we have set a good example, no matter what they might do, we have the assurance that we did our part. And don't you know that children are impressed more by what they see than by what they hear? Can I get a witness? They have more respect for our actions than they have for our words. The way we conduct ourselves in the home says a lot more about our character than the words which we utter when we come to church. Our children are very perceptive. Just as God looks beyond our faults and sees our needs, our children look beyond our words and see our deeds. We can't expect our children to be honest and truthful if we ask them to participate in deception. If you hide in the back room, send your child to the door to tell the rent man that you're not at home, don't be surprised if the children begin to make up a few lies of their own. Y'all ain't hearing me this morning. Many times, children get that line mixed up. And instead of telling the rent man, Mama is not at home, they go out there and tell him, Mama said that she's not at home. Can I get a witness? And let me tell you something else. We live in a drug culture today. Drugs are as commonplace today as liquor was some years ago. And it becomes very difficult for us to convince our children that they ought to stay away from crack and cocaine when they see us with a bottle of Old Tail in one hand and a bottle of Jack Daniels in the other hand. Help me, honey. Can I get a witness? We can't get them to stop smoking pot until we are willing to stop taking a shot or smoking it ourselves. Further still, our children's attitude toward the church is largely dependent upon our attitude. Don't expect the children to grow up loving the church if you are constantly running the church down. Don't expect them to continue to attend and support the church after they grow up if they have heard you on the telephone saying the church was nothing but a racket. Can I get a witness? I'm almost finished. Don't expect them to grow up if they heard you say on the phone the pastor's a crook. The deacons are no good. And that's all those folk in charge of the money are thieves, they're stealing. That kind of stuff rubs off on the children. And they have the tendency to believe what their parents have to say. So parents have the responsibility to watch the conduct in the home and watch their conversation on the telephone. Story is told of a little boy who was walking behind his father on an unpaved road. The ground was kind of soggy, and the tracks which the father made with his shoes could easily be seen by his son. And they continued to walk, although the father's stride was long and wide. The little boy managed to step in every one of his tracks. But when the father came dangerously close to the side of the road and almost stepped in the ditch, the son called out and said, Daddy, watch where you step. You see, I'm right behind you, and I'm following in your tracks. Parents, our children are right behind us, and they're following in our footsteps. They need some good examples to follow. They need some good role models by which to parent themselves. They need to see us sometime on our knees. Can I get a witness here? They need to hear us praying sometime. They need to see Jesus in us. And we have the responsibility to tell them about a son who honored his father. Can somebody help me right now? We have the duty to tell them about a son who loved his mother, who respected his mother. We have the duty to tell him about a son who gave his life for you and for me. Can I tell you that Jesus is the son? Can I tell you that that son is Jesus who came down 42 generations to save a wretch like you and me? Anybody here know the man Jesus? I want to tell you, like Clay Brooks, he suffered, bled, and died. And you and I might have a right to the tree of life. Here's this little story, and I'm going to let you alone. A little boy was walking, sitting in the window, looking out at a statue of Jesus hanging on the cross. A man joined him, and he said, that's Jesus out there, hanging on that cross, dying on the cross. He said, how sad it is. The man left. The little boy turned and saw that he had left. And finally he ran and caught the man and told him, sir, mister, that's not the end of the story. Can I get a witness here? Yes, he died. Anybody here know that that's not the end of the story? He died, He was buried in Joseph's new tomb. On Friday, he stayed there Friday night. Can I get a witness here? Stayed there Saturday. Stayed there Saturday. And all night Saturday. But somebody said early Sunday morning, he got up and he declared all power is in my hand. Can I get a witness here? The hymnologist said it well when he said, down at the cross. Down at the cross where my Savior died. Down for cleansing from sin I cried. There to my heart was the blood applied. Glory. Somebody say glory. 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 Glory.